Remember Brandon and Julia from 90 Day Fiancé? From meddlesome parents to money struggles, their journey has been wild. But wait, they're now on OnlyFans? Find out how this once conservative couple is shaking things up and why rumors of their breakup are swirling. Click to catch up on all the juicy drama you won't believe. Each couple featured in 90 Day Fiancé has taught us valuable lessons about how love sometimes isn't enough for a happily ever after. The 8th season's participants, Brandon and Julia, are one of the strongest proofs of that, as they had to deal with his meddlesome family, cultural differences, lies, and financial issues for a chance to be happy together. Nonetheless, after appearing on 90 Day Fiancé and some of its spin-offs, Brandon and Julia's lives have changed in many unexpected ways. So what's going on with Julia and Brandon these days? What happened to his parents? How are they making a living? Keep watching to find out. Nowadays, Julia Trupkina and Brandon Gibbs are still together, yet their life situation is drastically different from how it was when they debuted in 90 Day Fiancé in 2021. As many loyal viewers remember, the couple started their journey when Julia traveled from Russia to the US with a K-1 non-immigrant visa, so having only 3 months to marry Brandon and able to stay permanently in country. Initially, one of the biggest problems for the couple was the role of Brandon's parents, Betty and Ron, in their relationship, as they meddled in their plans and even dictated their sleeping arrangements. Julia and Brandon overcame that by setting some boundaries between themselves and his parents, regardless of the temporary negative response they got from that. Ultimately, the couple got their happy ending when they married and moved out of his family's home. Following their appearance on 90 Day Fiancé, Brandon and Julia's love story was also featured in the spin-offs Happily Ever After and 90 Day Diaries. The latter aired in early 2024. The couple's social media also indicates how widely their popularity had grown through the show, with each having over 200,000 followers on Instagram. While Julia and Brandon have done their best to maintain an independent lifestyle, the truth is that they found many difficulties along the way. In 2021, the couple decided to leave Virginia for Florida, much to Brandon's parents' chagrin. But those plans were eventually forgotten when Brandon couldn't refuse the promotion he was offered at his job. From then on, Julia and Brandon blissfully achieved another milestone in their relationship by buying a house in Norfolk, Virginia, just a couple of hours away from his family. However, their financial situation wasn't the strongest back then, as Brandon was paying the entirety of their bills, as Julia had problems finding a job. Given her background as a dancer in a bar in Russia, Julia resolved to look for a similar job in Virginia, much to Brandon's disapproval. It wasn't long before Julia auditioned to become a strip club dancer. The salary and the fact that she didn't need to wear extremely revealing clothes made the offer very tempting, but Brandon opposed it. Nevertheless, these days, the couple isn't as against making money through alternative means as they were, as Julia and Brandon now separately sell exclusive adult content on the subscription platform OnlyFans. This is surprising, especially considering Brandon's family's conservative views, which didn't allow him and Julia to sleep in the same room for a while. But only time will tell how this will result for them. As seen in episodes of 90 Day Fiancé, Julia was able to stay in the US after marrying Brandon. That means that she changed her status from a K-1 visa holder to that of a permanent resident, according to American immigration laws. Fast forward to early 2024, Julia has obtained her American citizenship, proudly showing her new passport on social media, while also answering her followers' questions about the process. Despite receiving numerous positive messages from her fans, the fact that Brandon was absent from her citizenship ceremony raised alarms about a possible separation. These rumors strengthened as Julia posted some cryptid stories about upcoming challenges on her Instagram, leading many people to believe that Brandon and her weren't on good terms. While the several posts which Julia and Brandon shared together on Instagram hint that nothing too serious has happened between them, it would be a shame to see one of the more stable and not too dramatic couples from the show separate. The beginning of Julia and Brandon's relationship wasn't too different from those that we're used to seeing in the 90 Day Fiancé franchise. Brandon first knew about Julia thanks to a mutual friend, not taking them long before they started a long-distance relationship and fell in love. Eventually, Brandon traveled to Russia to meet Julia, who at the time worked as a go-go dancer. Despite his parents' insistence on him marrying a local girl who was used to their farming lifestyle, Brandon ignored his parents' views by proposing to Julia during a trip to Iceland. It didn't take long before Julia applied for a K-1 visa, though her arrival in the U.S. wasn't well received by everyone. While Brandon's parents were initially kind to their future daughter-in-law, the relationship between the parties took a downturn when the Gibbs family's conservative home rules were too hard to deal with for the modern Julia, who was also asked to help with the chores on the farm. The situation hit its lowest point when Brandon blatantly told his parents he was moving out with Julia, as a response to the no sleeping together rule they set at home. Brandon's controlling parents weren't the only obstacle in the couple's path, as there was also Melanie, a friend of Brandon who confronted Julia about the rapid progress of their relationship. One of the most discussed topics when it comes to Julia and Brandon has to do with his parents, Betty and Ron, and their increasing disapproval of their son's relationship. Besides the rules they imposed over the lovebirds at the beginning of their relationship, their meddlesome ways reached the climax on several occasions, such as almost forcing their son to hold a second wedding ceremony. As Julia affirmed in an interview with Entertainment Tonight, her relationship with Betty wasn't bad, but relatively normal for in-laws. Yet, the lack of boundaries that Brandon had with his mom was concerning, and their initial living arrangements didn't help their case. Nonetheless, even when the couple was already living on their own, Brandon couldn't help but give his mom a key to their house at Christmas. The uncomfortable situation resulted in an enraged Ron, who didn't hesitate to throw the keys towards his daughter-in-law after noticing her annoyance. All in all, Julia and Brandon have come through a lot of tough situations, particularly with his parents, who have taken the big villainous role in their story. Whether or not the relationship with the older couple eventually improves, there's no denying that the interactions have turned into unforgettable TV moments. The TV series posed several questions, perhaps the biggest being all the many elements of cross-cultural communication. However, is that just TV producers generating interest and, to them, a successful program? Or an attempt to identify the difficulties that such unions have the possibility of encountering? And then what if things go wrong? An ex-spouse or girl-boyfriend alone in an unfamiliar situation in a strange land. So, what are your thoughts on both the program itself and the content, i.e. two people who have to marry, often after a very short time getting to know each other, or one leave the U.S. to return home? There are no right answers, so please share your thoughts with us and the many millions of other interested followers of this series and readers of this article. Thank you for spending some time with us. Make sure to like and subscribe so you never miss another video. We also handpick these videos which we recommend you watch next. You can talk to us on all social medias or ask a question in the comments below. Thank you for being with us, and we'll see you back tomorrow.